huge round of applause for Amanda Wowk.
Hello, my name's Amanda. I'm a content designer at Opencast Software. And I wanted to talk to you a bit today, just very quickly, about how plain language isn't just for designers. So there sometimes is a common conception in teams, in agile squads, that your content designer is the person who plain Englishifies things. I have heard that phrase before. So this is just sort of a brief introduction into how it can benefit people in multiple roles across our industry. It's just, quick intro, information about literacy, some sort of background information, why it's important, and some tips for using plain language, which you should ignore after Amy's talk this morning, because we're not doing that anymore. We are pandering to old rich white men now. So just let your food settle. But just for some context, I just want you to think. Have you ever seen a document, work, life, fun, whatever, long sentences, large words, you just lose it trying to read. You go cross-eyed. Maybe you see a GitHub commit message that just read, "Oh God, I hope this works," and you have no idea what it's related to. One of my colleagues has seen that and provided that as an example to me, which I thought was hilarious. Maybe you had some trouble understanding some acceptance criteria on a ticket because it was complex language, or you just couldn't understand what they were asking you to work on. And just in general, have you not been able to complete something at work because the task wasn't explained clearly, and you had to go back and get some clarification, and it added on time? So yeah, there's some key statistics behind this as well. It's not just that it makes our lives more complex and difficult, and as Amy pointed out, that when you use passive voice in complex language, no one understands what you're saying. For example, 1 in 6 adults in England have literacy levels at or below entry level 3. So that's like a literacy level of 9 to 11 years old. There are about 4 million people in England and Wales that don't speak English as their main language. It wasn't the language they grew up speaking mainly. And of these, about 888K don't speak English well. So it can be a real struggle for people when we don't use plain language. It's not just the domain of a designer, it's the domain of everybody. As you can see here, I'm going to have some very quick, not so good examples from the UK and US governments in the form of legislation. This is the Companies Act 2006, which I had to deal with at work. And trying to understand that gave me a headache. So I was trying to figure out, how this would affect something that I was designing. And this is my job, and I struggled. Another example is from the IRS, which is about official tax guidance. It's in a weird table. There's PDFs everywhere. The paragraphs are long. The content doesn't make sense. And as someone who has to deal with the IRS as a US citizen, this isn't fun. So this leads me to go on just to, in general, explain why plain language is important. It's more inclusive and accessible to everybody. It makes things clearer and easier to understand, and it opens up information to everyone, not just a select few. So I know that as of this morning, we are gatekeeping again, but I just want you to think about what if we weren't gatekeeping. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to be clear and precise in our communication and to provide clarity where people need it. It's also part of the law in several countries now. New Zealand, USA, their legislation has to be communicated in plain language. In the US, that's English. In New Zealand, that is English and Maori. And I think Sweden's actually been doing something similar for a couple decades now. What it means for us as designers, as developers, Scrum Masters, product owners, is that it makes it easier for us to understand each other and what we do. We work better together and we deliver better work. It just makes sense to speak and write in clear, simple terms. And sometimes you get the, what about specialists? And the answer is, they don't want to spend time decoding complex language. Just be clear. 80% of legal specialists said they prefer plain language instead of complex legal terms. You can put the Latin away. And I say this as someone who took Latin for 4 years. And in complete incongruence with what Amy told us this morning, I've got some tips for using plain language. So I'll start generic. With apologies to Amy, I had to make a very quick edit at lunch. Keep your sentences and paragraphs short in your written communication. Avoid euphemisms or idioms. Think about smaller words that can still get your point across. And a big tip, and this is one that I use in my everyday life and at work, is to read something that I've written out loud or read it out loud to someone to get their feedback on it. When you read something out loud, you can start realizing where something isn't clear or it's too complex and you're not getting your point across. It's also okay to use technical terms. We use technical terms all the time. Just explain them when you do. You never know who's going to be reading your Jira ticket or reading your, your release report or reading your documentation. Explain acronyms. Just don't assume that everyone knows what they mean. And speak to your local friendly content designer if you need help, but please don't ask us to edit the whole thing for you. We can just give you some tips and guidance. And then I've just got some sort of role-specific tips, and I'd be interested to speak to people after this if there's anything that they would want to add or contribute. So for developers and like QAs or test engineers, explain why you changed something in your commit message, like use short sentences to summarize what's different. Having an, oh God, I hope this works, or part of Jira ticket 245 doesn't really explain to people what you changed. Of course, you can go in and look more deeply, but think about people's time, their effort, their cognitive load. Avoid writing messages like, fixed something broken. What did you fix? Tell us what you fixed. And then sort of geared towards test plans or reports, think about your audience. Will non-tech people, such as a stakeholder, need or want to see them? Explain any acronyms, jargon, or technologies that you use. Test reports are fascinating. They're actually pretty cool. Like, make them accessible to people. I like reading your test reports. Some tips for the business analysts out there as well is, obviously, you're working with complex problems. You have a lot to do with sort of defining like acceptance criteria and whatnot. So explain your acronyms and jargon when you're defining business requirements. If you're writing user stories, focus on using clear, simple sentences to write ticket details and acceptance criteria. If you're doing a process map or an as-is or a to-be, provide simple explanations for steps. You can have sort of explanations for the steps alongside the, the Visio flow chart or things like that. Some quick tips for the product owners or product managers out there. Think about how you're describing items in the product backlog. Explain acronyms or jargon the first time you use them. Think about someone who's brand new to your project or a stakeholder who gets really curious and goes into your Jira instance. Keep it clear and simple. Keep your language simple and easy to understand when you talk about the product roadmap, so don't just show a chart. Can you have a quick text explanation of what you're going to be working on? And remember that when you're making the product backlog transparent and understood, you're making it easier for everyone to understand and achieve the goals that you've set. And then just some tips for our Scrum Master Agile Delivery Manager friends. You have a really big job. You're communicating and supporting your team. You're also working with the wider business. You might be working with a client. And again, explain technical concepts as simply as possible when you're speaking to team members or stakeholders who don't have a technical background. You need to make your communication with everyone clear and equal. Use clear language when you explain like tools and methodologies to team members so everybody understands the team ways of working and you're just really fostering a strong working environment for your team, which means you'll all deliver better work. And this is a big one that I've noticed personally. Try to avoid jargon and, for example, show and tells with stakeholders. Be clear and direct. Don't gloss over what you're delivering for them in that sprint, for example. Ultimately, everyone benefits when we all try to use plain language. It shouldn't be the responsibility or the domain of a content designer alone or a user-centered design team. We should all try to apply it in our everyday life. And there's this really famous line that's from gov.uk, is that it's not dumbing it down, it's opening it up. You are opening up your work and your processes and all the good, wonderful things you do to everyone. And when you use plain language, you make it accessible to everyone. And that's a really important thing. So next time you are writing a Jira ticket, maybe you are, writing a commit message, think about how you could make what you're doing a little bit clearer to somebody out there. And that is it. Thank you. I've also got some helpful links, so if people want to find me afterwards, that'd be great. Thank you.